So we have this JSON documentation of our RESTful Web Service API generated for us, and in this video we will learn how to preview this documentation in a user-friendly web interface that Swagger UI tool provides us with. And to do that, I will go and open a new browser window, and here I will type HTTP localhost and then port number on which my application is running, context path of my application, mobile app WS, and then swagger-ui.html, and hit enter. And here's a Swagger UI tool that allows us to preview that JSON documentation in this very user-friendly web interface. It's highly customizable, and we can edit the base URL of our documentation. We can add more information about API documentation, and we have two main sections available to us at this moment. One is a user controller with all the endpoints that it has. To expand this list, I simply clicked on this user controller, and it lists down all the web service endpoints that we have created with an HTTP method. For example, this is HTTP GET, and then the path to this web service endpoint /users, and the method name that is called getUsers. And we also have models, and these are the models that we have created that are being used with our RESTful web services. Each model I can click on to expand and see its structure. Let's, for example, have a look at the user controller and let's say create user model. And this method create user accepts HTTP post request sent to /users, and it says that the body of this HTTP request is required. And here we have a sample value, which is an XML format. To change that, we simply select a different option from this drop-down menu. I'll select application JSON, and now I have this example value in JSON format. This is a body of our HTTP request that we need to send to create a new user. It contains addresses, email, first name, last name, and so on. And below we have sample responses. So if user was created, we will get HTTP status code 200 and then example value in XML format. If I change this response content type from XML to JSON, I will get this example value in JSON format. So what do I do, for example, to try this HTTP request? Because this API documentation that Swagger generated for us is interactive. I can preview it in interactive mode. I can change content type, for example, and I can actually send HTTP request using this user interface. Earlier we used Postman HTTP client to send HTTP requests to our web service endpoint so that we can create and view user details. But now when we have Swagger documentation, we can actually use this Swagger UI tool to interact with our API. So to send HTTP request, I will click on this try it out button, and this will make this field editable. I can provide a real JSON payload here and send this HTTP request. Let me, for example, go to my Postman, and here I have already opened a JSON body for the HTTP post request, which was sent to /users to create a new user. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this, go back to my Swagger and paste it here, replacing the example value that was there. Okay, so now I should be able to click on this execute button here and create a new user. So let me click on it and then scroll down, and I see here a curl command that I can use to send this HTTP request, which is also very convenient. And below here I see a response which is confirming that this HTTP request was successful. The status code is 200. This is the response body of the newly created user, and below are the response headers. So it's working, and in the following videos we will learn how to share this documentation with our team members, for example, so that they can preview our API in this very user-friendly web interface and interact with it by sending HTTP requests. Now we have created a new user But because we're using Spring Security in this project, for us to be able to interact with other web service endpoints, for example, if I expand this get user HTTP call, then the get users accepts limit HTTP request parameter and then page, but it also needs to accept HTTP authorization header with a JSON web token value there. And the default version of Swagger UI does not provide us with the field to input that authorization header, so we will need to edit our get users method a little bit by adding a few Swagger specific annotations, which will enable us to include that authorization header into an HTTP request. So let's learn how to do that.